This is really some cool stuff, I have to say. And I'm not just saying that just to say it. It really is. And when you hear some of his epic poetry and poetry, hopefully you'll agree and want to grab a copy of this. This book is the Parliament of Poets. And if you've done any studying of classic epic poetry, this fits the bill. And don't let that turn you away. It's really good stuff. Please
Set
welcome
partly on the moon at the
Frederick
Apollo
Glaysher.
11 landing site, the Sea of Tranquility. Apollo calls all poets of the nations, ancient and modern, thank you, ML, east and west, to assemble on the moon to consult on the meaning of modernity. The Parliament of Poets sends the persona on a journey to the 7 continents to learn from all the spiritual and wisdom traditions of humankind.
In the mid part of the moon,
on Earth and on the moon, the poets teach him a new global universal vision of life.
The brilliant moonscape against the blackest black of space, stark blackness, polarities of light and night, where a human footstep marked a giant leap forward in lunar dust for all mankind. Footsteps still all about, undisturbed, untouched by decades of time, destined to remain for all time, eternity or as near to it as we can imagine, unlike what Robinson Crusoe found, an ephemeral footprint on a beach. Here with instruments and a flag unfurled in the solar wind, half a lunar module, the descent platform left far behind, the glory of the moon and all creation. And then I saw him sitting upon his nag, Rosinante, Don Quixote, a lance resting across his saddle as he leaned forward from next to a crater, gazing my way. At first, shock overwhelmed me, finding myself where I was, disoriented, disbelieving how could it be. I stood there without an encumbering spacesuit, lightly clad in my old corduroy jacket, worn beyond its prime, breathing in the atmosphere of the moon. The man of La Mancha plodded slowly on his nag, even as I began to realize we were not alone. A crowd of people were coming toward me too. How could they have gotten here as well, I wondered. My own presence in Cervantes still a mystery, unexplained, beyond belief, amazement, deeply stirring, shaking my very being as I recalled my flight to the moon. A creaking leather saddle woke me further to his nearness as he leaned closer to me, looking annoyed, eyeing me from his mount. So you finally made it up here. What's taking you so long? A great war cry went up, drums, tom-toms, the deep bass sound of tightly stretched hide, chanting of many braves, pounding of hearts. Clearing a space, poets made room for a young Lakota Indian brave, strong and virile, raising a hoop before him, dancing the hoop dance of his people, the hoop dance of all the peoples of Mother Earth, far above, while all stood round, the poets and seers, shamans and singers, griots and troubadours, bards and rhapsodes, watching him pounding moon dust, mesmerized, for he danced in another world, the world, as it were, of the moon. Behind him all could see the hoop of the earth, beyond the hoop of the moon, within the hoop of the moon's own hoop, the hoop of our rotating solar system, the hoop of the spinning Milky Way, the hoops of the innumerable galaxies, the hoop of the endless universe. His long braids spun with the planets, spinning on their axes as he weaved in and out and through 9 hoops, and the pounding of the drums pulsed through the arteries of the universe. First one way and then the other, his moccasins dancing through moon dust, feathers proudly worn, hide loincloth, pipe bone breastplate, and headdress, transfixing everyone by the energy of his dance. Seen by all, an even more astounding sight took place as he slowly changed into an ancient medicine man, standing proud and noble, holding a sacred croup stick, a medicine wheel with seven feathers suspended from it. The youth was gone. Black elk stood before us, Behold the earth, he commanded, gesturing with his croup stick, directing our gaze, rising like a hoop of many peoples. It is holy, being endless, broken like a ring of smoke. While I was trying to absorb it all, begins to heal, to encircle the Indian nation, all nations, once again, like double slits in the rolling landscape, dressed in a jacket and a vest, a decorous bow tie near the pond, incongruous, out of his element, holding a tall black spear with a broad, wide blade tapering to a point. Walking towards me, I noticed he adjusted his bow tie with one hand, peering through bottle-thick glasses. Egads, I exclaimed, Bob, is that you? Remembering the day by chance, walking across the campus diag, I had seen that figure in front of Angel Hall. Recognizing me too, he smiled back. Two poets, one now grown older, both lessened by time. We laughed, looked at one another, shaking hands, embraced. Stepping back, I said, Bob, that spirit's just so not you. And he, grabbing and fanning his lapel as was his wont, I'll have you recall, I was the young poet who aspired to fulfill Stephen Benet's prophecy of an American black poet with a spear, chanting a song for his people, and I still honor that, though complex for some. Laughing together again, I shot back, they still don't get you that you're human. Forget that crowd, he scowled, adding, you, my friend, have done what you told me, taking my breath away, gasping as I recall. Oh yes, I remember, it consoled me for many years, even as your words, my God, you're going to have such a difficult time, have proven all too true with every passing year. What a fool I was to think all I had to do was serve Robert Frost 20 years. Laughing on the patio, he said, many poets make that mistake. Enough of that too. Waving his hands, sweeping it all away, a gesture that only he could make. I will name their names and they shall come for us, carry us heavenward to the moon. I have come to lay my black spear down by Roland's horn. Do you think I'll be able to get that? Howlingly funny, he roared, the old understanding between us, my friend and mentor, I still his apprentice. I hazarded the cliches are even thicker now than when you were catching myself. He just smiled and said, shaking his spear in the air, boys, step aside and let a real poet show you how to get to the moon. What a sight we were there in the meadow, a large eccentric black man and a poet worn down by life in all its poignant pains, my body evincing signs of mortality. The old bond felt so strong as he began. Scientists and engineers don't understand the moon. I once saw their flags and footprints, intricate rubbish left behind. We're rescuing it from them. We poets were there first. I call, spirits, both arms flung forward, shaking in the air. I invoke your names, and from every land and time. Ha! We poets are not the ones to worry about, but scientists bereft of any guiding vision. Technicians without souls, without a human heart, we poets reclaim what is rightfully ours, and so, great spirits, he bellowed into the air, shaking his spear again with newfound fervor, such that I reeled back. I call you to come forth, you shall carry us homeward to the moon. All fairy folk come forth, juju man and woman, watchers of the moon, who knew its lore, fays of every land. Peris of Persia, Auri, Genie, on flying carpets, carry us like Burak from Mount Kaf to the moon. Lead our camels across the sands of time and space, Egyptian Thoth and Greek Endymion, Queen Mab with all your crew, Puck and Titania, Oberon, Robin Goodfellow, Tinkerbell, Welsh fays, angels and cherubims, seraphims of the Holy Temple, Roman Fata, Valkyries of Valhalla, fleet-footed Mercury. Come down from Mount Olympus, aid us, Greek gods, if ever you assisted human beings, we need you now. Phoebus Apollo, bear me witness and hear me out. Your servants stand here in this grove, raise them to the inspiration of the moon. where you call all the poets of every land to assemble. Zeus, wing our earthbound feet like Perseus, gird us to battle Medusa. Like Arthur, kept by the fairies, keep us safe, safe upon our journey. Posy is in need. Take us to where we can look on Mother Earth, reigning in the night of space. Imagination's greatest image, newly acquired but grudgingly admitted, obtained fortuitously despite themselves by bumbling scientists and fighter pilots, cosmic hieroglyph, they knew not how to decipher thee. Repair now to the poets' round table, that bards and minstrels, poets and seers, rhapsodes and griots, shamans and priestesses may consult in high intoxicating tones of artful song, the meaning of our fate, the fate of all humanity in this dark nihilistic age. Surging into his peal, he bellowed all the more into the heavens, divine beings, come forth, convey us to the moon. Hear our petition now upon this meadow green, this sward, pixies and gnomes, elves and brownies, kelpies and korrigans, leprechauns, the African flying tortoise in Baku, flying shamans of the Incans, carry us from earth to the moon. With a thud, Bob planted the end of his spear down on the earth. I looked at him, gazing in the sky, nearly blind as he was, and knew he saw deeper and farther than many men with two good eyes. And then something began to happen. Those he summoned began to appear. Together we could see them, the fairy queen trailing her or his crew came twinkling in. Apsaras and Gandharvas from the east, sphinx and griffins out of 1,001 nights of dreaming, the noble vulture Garuda from standing guard in India, Mother Goose's proverbial man in the moon, her storybook cow that jumped over the moon, Feng Long, the Chinese phoenix bird, along with the Russian firebird, and their Greek consort all came down to serve the fairy queen, who deftly exercised her royal sway, looking at Bob, intoned in silver notes. My lord, you called, and we have come to do your bidding, poet true and valiant, pure of heart, thy melodious song, nectar to our breast. We thirst to hear your words that guide us aright, poet seer, though judged legally blind by bureaucratic ignoramuses, we know better, that thy penetrating sight perceives what other men unwisely neglect. And so we are here, guided to be your guides, and up toward the empyrean carry thee in thy charge to heaven's light, great symbol of majesty's highest rule, light saving us from pitch-black darkness, raising men's minds above the lowly earth. Light in all its glory we shall ride, moonbeams from the moon on high shall safe passage grant, our road supernal physics, deepest insight into light, the energy and mystery of the universe. I come to petition further on your behalf. Spreading her tender hands out toward the crystal sky, she demurely began her appeal. True light, if ever you have sought to guide us, guide now, that these poets may assemble on the moon, your orb, bejeweled in brightest light in time of darkness, enlighten our minds. This corporeal one especially requires your transcendent energy. Let us rise within thy brilliant light and rapt vision, visionary, all mystic beings attest. Rise, elevated by thee. She gestured us closer, together poets stand. And in the evening light we now could see the day as we spoke, having passed into night, moonbeams upon the meadow of my backyard. Shimmering light, ascendant energy of the far-off moon. The hoopoe and all her flock, having sailed back over the trees, swirling around the circle, joined and accompanied by Queen Mab's crew, fairies and genii and magical beings. Robert and I found we were rising in flight, lifting off like a Saturn V rocket from Cape Canaveral, not in a violently shaking roar, but in fluid bird song. Queen Mab and Japara were at our lead, bearing us aloft. Light speed for the moon, and we within a shining beam, a tower of light, twin towers, soared heavenward beyond time and earth, accompanied by all the multitude of birds and fairy folk. Together the angle of ascent achieved. Daedalus and Icarus flew with us. Icarus falling to earth as we neared the sun. Looking away, Bob murmured, "Oh, Daedalus, fly away home. Oh, fly beyond Africa." Pegasus heading back to Olympus. Phaeton returning to his father's house. Jason and the Argonauts launching out. Prometheus flying back for fire. Dolphins sailing for Byzantium. The white tiger of the west for peace. Bob and I like crows struggling for the moon. I thought, who needs warp drive when I've got Queen Mab, my escort and midwife of my dreams? And so she brought us here to fairyland, Japara and all the other wondrous folk, even where you see us now before you, the sea of tranquility, all tranquil here. Earthly turmoil left far behind, place of
I
pain,
had to speak,
human strife.
I said to him.
So it seems.
Oh, Vyasa, help me find a way. Time is so confused. Passion and violence rack the entire globe. The ways of peace and meditation lost. Unruffled, he replied, strive always to teach humanity Dharma and the ends of life. Time flows like a river, but the body cannot remain steady like a boat. The soul is a traveler. Silently stepped aside, stayed back out of the way, allowed me to move forward. I know that is why toward the niche, brought you deeper toward the western wall, where those before me reigned in splendor, glory. The Buddha Sakyamuni, his right hand raised in the mudra of have no fear, though I was already far beyond fear, where no fear can ever reach, taking in all the scene, his sitting on an octagonal throne, Mount Meru, as it were, the center of the universe, cosmic mountain transcending the worldly plane, far beyond the mountain caves. Encircled with a nimbus of spiritual fire, his glowing nature made manifest, he sat in lotus position, head erect and calm, peace and nobility emanating, resonant in his bearing, crowning essence, long ear lobes intimating the princely world he left behind, flowing robes.
Shaking her head, she gave me the calabash, saying, Africa
above the world, while his companions stood.
Then stepping apart, she leaned back her head, a black jewel, as black as the blackest black of space, a universal jewel of great price, a living universe of womanhood, in her deepest mystery, feminine jewel, a cipher all men seek to solve of every hue. A daughter of Sogalan, as she were, namesake saying, I, Sogalan, see a vast refugee camp spanning this valley, through the country, the continent, the world, out of the dark heart of humanity, standing by, watching, moved and unmoved, all complicitous, all lacking the will to stop the brutalization of village women, vulnerable, weak, frail. Why do you all stand by and watch on TV? Everywhere, everywhere, everywhere on earth, the loss has first taken place in the human heart. For the heart of darkness exists everywhere. Not only Africa by any means, everywhere women are brutalized and raped. Man become an animal, an old and terrible sight. Every manner of violence and bloodshed unleashed, ever perpetrated by the human race, concealed behind the tribal dress, the military uniform, the three-piece suit, sucking the bones and marrow. Here's what is in man that destroys.
Together, Merlin and Queen Mab stood before the crowd. he holding out his staff, she clothed in nature's bountiful plenty, catching the eye of many a poet and seer. Speaking the thought of many present, addressing Cervantes, Merlin asked, "What is this embodied spirit doing here amongst us, disturbing the serenity of our home? How can this be? Is this one of your quixotic jokes? Did you bring him here, and what's the point?" Cervantes leaned back slightly in the saddle, Rosante snortling, giving her head a little shake, her mangy mane taking a while to resettle in low gravity. All eyes moved from Merlin to Cervantes, who replied, once peace and quiet had resumed, though how and why the heavenly realm that poets have occupied from time immemorial could be compromised still seemed to hang upon the lips of many, glared from their eyes full of curiosity. Cervantes, cocking back his head with authority, swept his eyes over the assembly of poets. The pressing multitude began. "We have all experienced the loss of the living presence in modern times. Even those who would go backward show loss. Our people all lose their way, bewildered, science usurping the glory of the moon. Our domain, where most of us dwell even now. Just look around at all the trash the astronauts and scientists left behind, scattered about the beauty of this plain. All man's science and technology cannot understand the moon, mighty symbol of eons, visible sign, uplifting men's eyes to the heavens. You all know I speak the truth. Many of our people and even some of us cling to nostalgia, but it's not the same as that deep experience of the divine." Lifting his lance into the air, waving it about, Rosinante leaping apace, raising her forelegs, Cervantes exclaimed, "Obeying Lord Apollo, I challenge you, I call here a parliament of poets."
Wow. Frederick Glaysher! You can read that book for years and years, and it keeps giving.